So before I jump into my very first reaction content, I'm going to try a bunch of these over the next week. I'm going to try them a couple of different ways to a couple of different videos. The plan isn't for them to be like an all the time type thing, but it's a new format, so I want to kind of try it a lot, and we'll see what takes. And then maybe once a week kind of react to like my favorite video of the week. Let's do it.
Hey Buns, have you had your eye on
Zepplin's
Savage
phenomenal.
Raids or Extreme
And
Trials
does
in Film History
Savage
14?
content.
But
So
you're
like,
nervous because you've never
go
done
watch her
anything
streams.
high end. Not that there's anything wrong with
She's
the low end. Taking
awesome.
the plunge into that harder content can definitely be scary. I mean, who wouldn't be intimidated by a big, fluffy, sweet puppy? Who's a good raid boss? Yes, you are. But how do you know that you're ready? The game doesn't have an official DPS meter, so you might suck without even knowing it. I mean, your damage might be low.
Yeah, that's why I want a damage meter in the game.
The worst place to find that out would be in a party finder.
I do want to just stop there and say, for anybody hanging out that doesn't Savage Raid or is new to 14 or doesn't play 14, just know that like damage meters are against terms of service for a number of reasons. There is an accepted way to use them, and you really only get banned if you breach that. But in general, it's an unsupported portion of the community. And so as just a general rule, you end up with a large portion of population never having seen themselves on a meter, having no idea if their rotation is actually doing more damage or less damage than other people in their party.
Calls you out on it. That's like a nightmare scenario, I think, for many people. And while being degraded and yelled at by some random cat
Which
boy
is
may be
bannable.
some people's idea of a good time, it might not be what you signed up
Degrading
for
people
when
is
you
where it
joined
crosses
the
the line.
party finder group. And while
Toxicity.
I can't ever guarantee that won't happen, there are definitely some things that you can do to make your experience smoother and just make the situation less stressful and reduce the chances of you being called out. First of all, you want to be geared. You want to check the item level required for the fight that you want to challenge and have that be getting that gear level.
Not best in slot, but like I am above that.
You can upgrade your gear through various means. Crafted gear sets you can buy from the market board or craft. You can get gear tokens from normal raids. And you can get tomestones from doing stuff like expert roulettes.
That's a great way to get it.
Tap on the tomestones every week. Get
this whole
the
section
best
makes sense. This whole section is something that I think casual people that have played the game for a while know how to do, is to gear up. The question is what happens when I want to make the jump into Savage. If you're new to the game, watch this. This is new, but like,
meld your gear fully. Please do that. It is important. And you figured out what is the best food for your job. You have plenty of that.
Materia you need to be slotting.
Check to see if you can actually pull your own weight in terms of damage and content. You might feel tempted to use a third-party program like Advanced Combat Tracker to get a DPS meter.
That's the most common DPS meter.
But why do that when you can just calculate all of your damage mentally as it goes out? Jokes aside, ACT is not officially supported by the game, and it's kind of not allowed. We don't know when or if they will ever come down hard
in the world
on people that are using it. And if
you're
you're on console, you can't use it anyway. So
because it can't be on console,
as well, just head on down to Stone Sky C
one of the big ones,
and try to beat the target dummy there for the content that you want to do.
Okay, so you do this just outside
you
Duelmore.
will not be able to defeat this dummy.
It's a target dummy.
You're totally lost on your job's rotation.
That gives you a theory of whether or not you could clear it.
And I would say if you can defeat it, it just shows you are going to be able to pull your own weight in the content, at least in theory. Like if the boss stays perfectly still and doesn't perform any mechanics,
so far I can do all of this. I can clear
Stone Sky, it should just give you like some peace of mind and
at the beginning of the expansion.
You got the heat in your meat, but can you take it to the street? So you're geared. You have beat Stone Sky C. And if you haven't already, I would say that your first step after that would be normal rates.
Normal rates. You have to clear that to get Savage anyway.
Those. They will help you gear up too if you don't.
I think many of us casual players that are just wondering, how would I make the jump to Savage? From a Savage player's perspective,
are really easy to do in Duty Finder, even if you're a little bit lost. They will introduce you to the base mechanics of different raid bosses. On the Savage mode for those bosses, obviously the mechanics will be cranked up to 1,000,000 and it will be different, but the base ideas will still be there, and I think it will help you build confidence just to see a basic idea of how things work in normal. If you've done that a fair bit and you're comfy in the normal raids, but you still feel like the leap to Savage is a bit too steep, you can do the current trial on normal.
It's a huge gap. It's a huge gap. When you go watch Savage, when you go watch Savage guides, for somebody who's never done that type of content in any game, right? If you're like, oh, I was a Mythic WoW raider, or oh, I used to raid Savage, and like, I just haven't done it in a while, like, it's knocking the dust off. But like that very first time you jump from normal into something that is meant to be like, oh, this is meant to be really fun, and like, it gets you through, especially when you're talking about trial fights that are tied to story in this game. Savage Extreme, I kind of lump them together. I know like people that do all this are aware of like the minor differences in how they feel tonally, but to like an everyday player, I have to clear all my normal raids and all my normal trials to feel like I've fully engaged in the content of the patch, battle-wise. And then there's Savage Extremes, which is this optional tier above, where I go back and it's no longer about what a cool thing that I got to, you know, learn my class and play the game and have a good time in groups with randoms and get clear and get gear. And it was great. Then there's this level up here where the goal is to kind of kill you and to punish you and to make you step up your game. That gap is enormous.
Mode, or if you want to start with baby steps with extreme trials, I would say do the trials that were released first in this expansion and then continue along chronologically. So you could do
okay, so go back and do the ones that were overgeared for and that people know the strategies really well, and that are probably doing like Party Finder clear parties where like they're intending to kind of get through it, and there are people in the party that know to do it, and there isn't as much tension of like, we haven't done this before. So go back to prior to Prague. That makes sense. What do I do at the beginning of an expansion? Like 6.0 is this year. What do I do when the beginning ones are hard to find groups for?
Titania Extreme first. You can do Innocence Extreme.
What a fun fight.
Most people vastly outgear those fights at this point, so it won't be hard.
I know I say I don't do Extremes and Savages, but every once in a while I dabble. But I rated in WoW, so like the jump to it is like, yeah, I got it. I just got to learn mechanics and then not mess them up.
That's not how it sounds. It's getting weirder. Stop. Do we get your feet wet? In a rating scenario. Wet. By the way, a great resource for guides for various trials and extremes is saltedxiv.com. I've been making quite a lot of use of that. It's a nice looking site that has a lot of resources
nice. I've always used Mistech, MTQ Capture.
Trial should reward you with a pretty good weapon.
Whatever.
Maybe not good looking, but it has good stats. That is what counts. You can also consider stepping into an Unreal trial. These do not reward weapons or power upgrades, but they just give cosmetics. And because they will sink your item level down to 435, you can't outgear them. So this means that nobody can cheese the DPS check or cheese the mechanics in the fight. Like, you will have to do your rotation at a reasonable level and do mechanics and not get yeeted off the platform. And that is, if you can do that, you're ready for raiding.
We tried with one group, it failed, and we just moved on.
That's the essence of raiding.
But on Unreal, Titan, I'd like to do it.
And don't get yeeted. Once you've played the extreme trials, you got comfortable in normal raids, maybe even done Unreal trial, and you feel like you're more ready than before to do a Savage raid, but you're still scared, there's still something holding you back, maybe talk to your FC about it and see if you can't get at least one person to go into Party Finder with you. Okay. I promise it will make it.
Step 2, assuming you've done all your normal content and you understand how tomestones work. Step 1, run old stuff. Step 2, have friends or meet friends in-game or through an otherwise community to run it with. That's good. These are good.
Much less scary. Like, you can join a group that says practice
do Unreal because it doesn't scale.
Or make a group that says that, and I think that you will find it's really not as scary as you might be hyping it up to be.
Okay.
I personally was terrified of doing E10 Savage because I was on a job that I very recently learned Summoner, and I had never done Summoner in Savage before.
I would for sure do it on a roll, I know.
Very freaked out, and I was certain I was in way over my head, but it actually turned out to be fine. And now looking back, I feel like I was being really silly with how much I freaked myself out about it.
How long has that been there?
I started to feel like that even after the first few pulls, once I started to get more comfortable. And I remember thinking to myself, hey, turns out I can actually do my rotation and move.
As you learn mechanics in harder content, doing your rotation gets easier because just like your rotation becomes muscle memory, the fight moderately becomes muscle memory. And it's when you do both of those that you can actually start getting like progression towards like doing the fight. Now the group as a whole may or may not be getting progression with or without you, but your individual improvement within the fight, more reps is better, has been my experience. And the rate at which I learn may be slower than someone else, but like I am continually improving. My 50th pull is better than my first pull.
A little bit and like process what's happening. Just don't expect everything to go well immediately. Like, expect mistakes. Things are not going to go perfectly. You will die a lot of times, but learn from that. You will learn from that naturally. And so just be okay with the learning process. Expect to learn, expect to die, expect to wipe, and be kind to yourself, and you will be fine. Often I will.
So when I have watched interviews with like world first raiders in WoW and things like that, or listen to the like Frosty do his podcast with TPS when they took world first this time, or I've listened to those in the past where he has the world first group on to kind of ask them about it. Like, one of the common themes, whether it's explicitly stated or not, is that when there's a mistake, everybody tries to not only learn from the mistake that may have caused it, if it was explicitly one person dragged a bomb into a group and everybody died, but also like think back to the earlier in the poll and think back to other mistakes that may not have wiped the group but could have been done better. That drive for like self-improvement and positive, like critical, like, hey, you did these things well, you did these things poorly, I'm not just dogging on you. Like, that is something that I see consistently across top level players, more than number of years played, more than number of hours per week, more than I have this background in this game or in other games. That attitude is something that binds world first traders across both WoW and 14, just in general. That just generally have the right attitude and have the right expectations. You're not going to get it down first pull. Second pull might get better. Third pull might get better. Fourth pull might be worse than your first pull. And like that awareness of that, and that having that attitude and the stamina, like, and the drive and the discipline to have that attitude on pull 20, 30, however many it takes, 200. It doesn't matter if it's pull 9 billion. The longer that is maintained, the better those groups seem to do. We all have seen the video, like Stop DPS and like the raging and stuff, but the groups that I see winning world first now, like, there is a calmness and a collectedness and a willingness to learn that I think allows them to overcome when the devs throw them a curveball, or when servers or a boss or something has a bug, because you're seeing this content for the very first time cleared very rapidly in a very in a number of attempts and stuff, where they get to things and, like, even if the devs were watching and could fix in real time, they're blowing past mechanics where the devs go, "Oh, we need to fix that real quick." And like, it's a gritty process, and the ability to deal with that is something that I really admire about world first traders, that like all of us can bring back down into our normal mortal lives, where I think there's I could do that with normal content too. That ability to not get flustered and that ability to continue to learn and improve, I think is generally not a bad rule just in life in general.
I'll have new players or people who are new to raiding come into my stream, and they're watching me raid, or they'll see me much further in a fight than they might be, and it can be overwhelming to see the whole fight happening when you only know a little bit of the fight. The thing is that you don't see all the time that was spent learning the first mechanic and then we died a lot, and then learning the second mechanic and then dying a lot to that, and just getting slowly more and more comfortable with all that there is. It's not for everyone. A lot of it is really just bashing your head against the wall, being frustrated and wiping and making a little progress, and then taking a couple steps back and then taking a few steps forward. And that's the bulk of it, I would say. It's fun enough. The process for me is fun enough that I don't mind that too much. But if you try it and you find out you don't like it, that's okay. I mean, there's other
it's
things
incredibly
to do
optional.
in the game.
Everything about Prague is optional.
We play this game to have fun.
This is every bit as optional as crafting, gathering.
It's not doing it for
getting
you.
pets, getting mounts.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please consider.
If you're going to call MSQ required content, right, that core content and clearing all the dungeons on a normal level, if you're going to call that the core of the game and that's your requirement, Savage and Ultimate and Extreme and all that stuff is over here, and PvP is over here, and Glamour and all of that is over here, and like you get to choose how many of those places you go. Zebla, that was awesome. That was great. This was my first reaction video on the channel, and hopefully you guys like these. I'm going to try a couple of them. We're going to try it a couple of different ways. I'm going to jack with stuff, and we'll see if any of it sticks. Maybe I'll never react after this again, or maybe it's something that comes in kind of once a week. But out of the gate, my goal with January is to try to better gauge like what you guys are interested in. And then of the things that I want to make, really focus on what you guys like. Definitely that's the goal. So I'm probably dropping to like once a day posting so I can try a greater variety of things, but that's the plan. Hopefully you like it.